So I'll call us to order. Are there any members of the public present? I don't think so. No. Okay, so let us move to the minutes from March 18th, right? It's really been that long, crazy, because there was 5 Wednesdays.
Yeah, we had an extra.
Kim, question.
Yes.
I was gonna just share a quick update about the volunteer policy discussion at the select board last night.
Yeah, great.
Is public comment the right time to do it today?
That's a good question. Maybe well, I feel like it can go under general announcements, public comment, or general announcements.
And let's like to do it as the agenda addition. We've got kind of 35 minutes for discussion. Before the agenda kind of kicks off, I wanted to do a report on Green Fair and look at some benches.
Yes, would you like to sub in for 3 question mark?
Yeah, so can we add to the agenda an update on the volunteer policy under general discussion topics?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll move that we add to the agenda discussion of the volunteer policy at the select board last night.
Do we need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Super. Whenever you are ready to take over, let me know. I'm fine.
Yeah, sorry, I realized there was a backpack in my car halfway here.
Oh,
no.
You're like, this actually is critical.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually did need to turn around for that one.
those of you that follow Front Porch Forum may have seen that we also recently lost a backpack, and someone like posted on Front Porch Forum, hey, we found Ellie Coleman's backpack, and the number of personal messages I got. I was like, yes, we're also on. It was like deep in the woods, like the Talcott woods, and we're like, how did this happen? And we think an animal, like it had a lunchbox in it, we think an animal like took it out of our neighborhood. It was like all shredded.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like a
Well, there's
right,
a-
yeah, it's like
yeah,
I think it's a bear.
There's a decent there's at least one very active bear.
Yeah, there's one that
In
has
our
gone through
neighborhood.
our trash can before. And our dog like sits on the end of our kids' beds and like lets out this low like.
Probably the same one that Marcy was complaining about. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's on.
Yeah, she's in your neighborhood there. I can capture. You were able to get who voted on that? We were fast.
On
Reed and Laura.
on
On
oh
adding
yeah,
the
I
agenda.
got Reed and Laura, and then
So where are we putting that in the agenda?
3 question mark.
after benches.
After that. Okay. All right, great. So any further comments or general announcements before we go into minutes?
No.
Great. Let's go into the minutes. Thanks for subbing that up. Kate.
A new time. As long as I'm here.
Well, you didn't have a backpack, clearly. It was your.
Not today.
Not today. Yours wasn't.
I also don't have coffee. I left my coffee.
What a turnaround.
I was like, can I go home?
There's a typo of Ann versus
I
Ann.
thought that too, but I wasn't.
Where is it?
Scroll up a little bit, it's the. More. That last bullet under spring warning projects.
And
Monitorables.
great.
The,
For posterity. We'll get that right.
I mean, I don't know.
I didn't have any
Do we care
context.
about this?
I don't know.
I feel like typos like that are so frustrating because it doesn't like put the squid, like it's a word, so
Yeah,
it doesn't. I always mistype, like I type the word manager a lot, like land manager, but I mistype it as manger, like a lot, and it doesn't, like word doesn't catch it.
Type farm instead of from.
Oh,
I do, yeah.
yeah. Manger is like a really funny, like a land manger.
I didn't have any content comments. And I really liked how succinctly you were able to sum up our conversation about the the invasives management.
Yeah,
stuff.
that was really good.
That was as short as you could possibly make it, and it has everything in it, so
Yeah, it does.
really nice.
This is also not critically important, but we gave people $5, not $10.
Oh,
But I think you
Plan.
discussed handling.
Well, I only gave, I don't think so. I don't know, we gave people $5. Right now,
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
Can I get a motion?
I move approval as amended with and changed to and.
Second.
All in favor, approved,
Aye.
aye,
Who moved and seconded? Reed and Laura?
Reed and
Yeah.
Laura.
We just never went to sleep after last night.
Are most awake this morning, clearly.
All right. Let us go on to Green Fair report and then bench options. So Laura and Lynn, you were both at the town fair on Saturday?
Yeah, Lynn, really liked, and I really liked Reed's idea about the putting money into bins to see. What people thought, and there were, Lynn, you have the results of that, they were fairly even.
Yeah. Yes, we have
Or
three
the-
categories. One is extension and connection of existing trails. One is access to new trails, new and new recreational areas. And then the third was conservation for wildlife's sake. So, and then we specifically said on the jar, little or no human recreation. And we had people, most people thought that all of those things were important and split up their $5. We gave them $5 because 3 doesn't divide into 5, so they had to like make some sort of
Decision there.
decision. They couldn't just say, I'm gonna do it all equally. Most people split their money, but there were a few people who felt strongly and put all $5 in one jar. So we had 28 people participating, and the conservation won by $56. And then the other two were fairly even, the connection of trails was 43 and the access to new areas was 41. So pretty, the people voted for all of them. I think that was the main takeaway, is that like all of these things that we have in mind for you as a way to use the ERF are important to people. And then we also had invasive
Yeah, some people were interested.
species examples.
Yeah.
Information.
Yeah, and people took the resources I put out there, and Lynn also had dogwood that people took to plant in their yards.
Yes, Sherry took one and put it right in the middle of the yard. What are you doing? You just stuck it right in the middle of the yard.
Like red as your dogwood,
Yeah.
yeah, put it in a wet
It's really
area.
pretty.
Yeah.
Well, her backyard is wet, so she's like, this works.
It
You won't have to
does.
mow if you just make it all.
Yeah,
dogwood.
you do like a row of them, and they're beautiful in the winter.
Yeah.
With snow around.
Mhm.
I
I
might,
mean, they're beautiful always.
Am I
I think they're
relocated?
particularly beautiful. You do turn it into a rainbow.
Let me know.
okay,
Thank you for stopping that, both of you.
great.
It looked really nice with the people coming through. The couple seconds I was in there, I was like, oh, look, somebody's putting money into the jars.
Yeah, we put paper around the jar so you couldn't see, like,
Oh, yeah.
other
that's good.
people were, voting. I almost felt like when I gave people the $5, like I should look away when they vote, like, should we have a voting booth next time we go to the, it's like.
It's kind of an interesting natural experiment.
Yeah,
I think you should write it up.
especially people I knew, like, why?
Oh, yeah.
I don't wanna
Oh,
know
yeah.
how you're voting, like.
Right, the pressure of like, well, that's so fascinating because like pro-environmental behavior is like super susceptible to like influence
pressure.
of neighbor and friends, yeah, yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Well, now you have play money forever, so you can do this activity as many years in a row as you.
Yeah.
Was it Monopoly money? Or-
No, just got some play money on
Yeah,
Amazon.
yeah.
Thank you for
Cool.
doing that.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have something interactive.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
inexpensive.
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it was a good event.
It was a lot of people came through, it assumed by, there was always somebody at the table.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was worried because it was very rainy, or it looked like it was gonna be rainy, but then it was kind of like, ended up being okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Um. Good update, then we can move on. So Dave, I'm not quite sure if you have the email that I sent you.
I do, I just pulled
Yeah,
stuff up, so.
So let's just do a quick screen share, so, Gary Holly in recognition, not memoriam, I just wanted to be clear that.
Yes. He is alive.
He is very much alive, and we're hoping to have him visit, the bench, in recognition of his service. So I pulled out a, like an outdoor furniture, company and found some nice bench options. Dave, do you have that picture that I actually took the day that we walked, Five Tree last fall?
Was that in your email?
It was in my email, and the reason why I actually think we should start there is because one of these four benches is pretty much an identical replica to what's there right now.
Yeah, it was like the cement
Yeah,
base with.
and if you don't.
I
Three slides or
I do have it, actually.
Perfect. Nice.
I didn't realize it was an attachment or simply a.
Yeah, I don't know why Google does it that way, it's so
Okay,
annoying.
so let's.
Interestingly enough, when I was looking for this picture, I just searched in my photos under.
Yeah, the
bench.
drop down.
Hide there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Amazing.
That's
Show
amazing.
time.
I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
that actually,
Okay.
right, just like I needed a photo
Zoom.
the other day and I knew it had a baby in it.
You're gonna
And
share
I searched baby and found it.
this.
Yeah,
That's really good.
Okay, so this is the existing.
this is the existing bench.
Three
This is
concrete
why I don't delete emails.
rests
Remember
or
one,
three concrete
two, or-
supports.
Yeah.
And then like, they're like pounding.
Three benches and, so the three slats on the, seat side and the bench side, and then three.
And the only damage really is that front one, I think it's on the left end is broken off, there's like one of the. One of the slats is the end of it broke off.
Okay.
I don't know if somebody vandalized it or what, but
And these look like composite.
they are not
They are.
wood.
Yeah.
They're like
Yeah, composite's probably better.
Yeah, Laura,
Just because we have this photo up
yeah,
and we're putting the bench here. I just wanted to mention that, the person that grooms the vast trails, cause the vast trail goes up here. Said that they used to go all the way around this bench with the groomer, but all those are invasives that have grown up.
Mhm. There's a lot of buckthorn and honeysuckle basically. It's
Exactly,
encroached.
yeah.
yeah, so,
So, do we want to, is that like a vote to move it to give them more space or to? Do
no, not
invasive-
move it,
But do
it's-
invasive management there.
yeah, we should at some
Yeah.
point, but, I just wanted to mention it.
Thank you. So let's go to the bench options, and then if we can pull up right. As the first option. The one that most closely matches that,
Bless you.
Well, that's a lot of stuff
When-
we did.
I know.
David, when you went up there, did you have like a location for the new bench already picked out in terms of like where it would be installed?
We were just looking at,
Okay.
you know,
Not yet.
close by, next to it, we
Yeah,
might have to. Put a bolt into some of the rock, that's exposed rock there to fit a second bench, but.
Some space between them might be nice. Sometimes people feel awkward about sitting right next to other groups. And they wanna give them space if they're having their snack or packed lunch for their kid or whatever. So sometimes it's nice just to have at least a little bit of separation, so they feel like they have, they're not encroaching on another group of people. Anyway, sorry. back to
so
the
this
bench.
is all recycled plastic, so the base and the composite materials. I think this was also probably the lighter of the options, if I'm not mistaken.
In terms of color.
No, there's a
No.
weight for carrying it or installing it. thing.
Yeah, so you can see the prices here, yeah, this is also like one of the cheaper options, so like a 6 foot length,
536.
$536, and 139 pounds. So let's look at the next one. This is like more of your classic park bench.
Yeah,
Decorative cast aluminum, obviously looks nice, looks straight out of Central Park. Let's see how much that one was.
Yeah.
1,000 for a 6-footer. Oh, only 60 pounds though, so there you go. A little lighter, I was wrong, plastic was.
Oh, yeah, the aluminum's probably pretty light.
yeah,
This is probably as close as I think I found, to what's there right now. So that's concrete.
except it's wood. Do we think it will last the same way the composite has?
Great question. It's
Doug
Doug
fir.
fir too. I mean, I know Doug fir
It
lasts
does last pretty
For a
well.
long time.
pretty well. That's what my garden boxes are made out of, and that's lasted
Pretty
a
dense.
decade. So that's close-ish. And then what was the next one? That one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, not as much of a fan, so
Is the shape of the footers weird?
it is
Yes.
weird.
Yeah.
yes, it is weird. And I also don't love the 2-plank solution either. So, and then Dave, you actually said that Public Works had a sort of a, I don't know, plan.
Yeah, so this was a great conversation starter. We were looking at. At some of these price points, I mean, they could be great products, they'll last for a while, but. We might have to wait until the next fiscal year if we're gonna purchase new.
The Parks and
So,
Rec.
yeah, I talked to Todd at Parks and Rec, and he had a couple of other additional ideas for us. And I like this, stop share. Okay, let me share. Okay, so 2 ideas. First is. Hold on. There we go. Okay, so this style of benches, this is at Village Community Park.
Mhm.
And he has 2 of these bases. Not the same color and style, but 2 metal bases.
Does he have the metal connector?
On handy, not, there's not a middle one, so you'd be limited to the maximum dimension.
That's not.
And so all we'd have to do is purchase composite slats. But it would be the same width as this. So like
The-
2 to 3 person bench. And then
Yeah, is it like a 4 foot probably bench?
I think this one's probably a 4 foot.
Yeah, but I don't know if you could do 4 feet if you don't have the middle
Right.
slot.
I think you can do 4 feet without the middle. I think is what Todd was saying, but I can get more information, I can look. And then second option is an existing wooden bench that would need to be refinished. That is this one. So this is your thrifty option. This is a wooden bench that would need to be sanded and refinished. But
What is that? What
otherwise,
kind of wood is it? Cedar?
I don't know.
It kind of looks like cedar if it's
Yeah.
a pattern.
I guess I kind of feel like was the first one $300?
Yeah, you know, I
500.
agree, I kind of love the first one.
Yeah, the plastic composite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of like how I would feel if someone was like, we dedicated a bench to you and.
If it was like that.
Reefer, I would just be like, thank you.
Yeah, let's go, I kind of agree, I kind of like the newer
I
options.
do think those benches should be reused as.
Yeah, I was gonna
I don't
say,
think this is the right place for
Right.
reusing.
I also think that like, that would be a great project, like the next time we have an Eagle Scout that says they wanna do something in Williston, let's have them.
Go refurbish that bench and find a good
And
place
find a
for it.
great
Yeah.
spot for it, and also maybe that's not how we honor of when we're called, I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I would tend to agree, does anyone
Yeah,
wanna advocate for the.
yeah, that
Unless
one,
you would like it, like, I personally would probably like that.
oh, you'd like the reused one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Todd says he never buys new, it's just too expensive,
Hmm.
$800 a bench or whatever,
Yeah.
it's just.
Well, that's why we need more benches.
So he always gets them donated or refurbished,
Hmm.
which I
Yeah, this
respect.
one, to me aesthetically, this one is among the best. It's relatively
agree.
cheap. I worry a little bit about composite bases when you try
Yeah.
to connect those to something. Is it gonna over time wear
Right.
and we're gonna have to replace those base pieces, but
I agree aesthetically, this one is where I'm at too, but I didn't like the aesthetic base for the same reasons that like, I don't know how. I don't know how that structural element will hold up.
I will say that we have like, Hollywood, like outdoor furniture and the places where they screw together is like,
Right.
it's weird, right? Like it like. We even had one where like it didn't like line up properly when you put it to, and it's not like wood where you're like, oh, I can just like, I can re-drill the hole in my basement, right? And so like, I do think that that is like a, I don't know, like over time,
consideration.
yeah.
I like you can get in different colors too.
Mhm.
Cause this is just recycled plastic.
Yeah,
Recycled plastic.
yeah, the whole thing is like that, composite.
Well, I don't know,
What's
I
the
don't know if it's composite.
Trex uses recycled plastic and there's another one that makes benches and stuff out of it.
I mean, the 6 foot length is price wise. I mean, you can't shake a stick at that. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah,
6 feet would be plenty, I mean,
Yeah,
6 feet.
6
could
feet is-
fit 4 people on it, maybe even one person sitting.
and I'll be
outside.
honest, like the bench options that of the reuse options are just too small. I mean, a 2 foot bench with, or a 2 person bench with armrests is gonna be really constrictive. You know, the 6 foot bench you can fit like a whole family on who just hiked up, and I think that's more so more so than the reuse factor. Like, I'm just thinking practicality, like it's I believe a 6 foot bench up there now. But I think this would be most consistent. Can we look at the concrete one? The first concrete one?
Yeah, you're almost 6 feet tall right there.
There.
I am, yes, 6'3".
Trying to think if you.
Oh, you are, so like that is about the size it's
You
actually.
lie down on that bench, I think you're taller than that bench, aren't you? Maybe not.
Well, we can measure
Maybe
the
6 foot, yeah.
existing bench, if you're trying to match that.
I mean, I think this is the most durable and the thickness of those
Slats is.
wooden slats
Do
are
you
gonna
like this
be,
one?
mhm.
like,
Yeah.
those are gonna be bomb proof,
And what was the price of 6 feet in this one?
more expensive.
Oh, much more expensive.
Yeah.
This would be like a next budget year,
Yeah.
wait until the fall kind of thing.
I'm also wondering if there's, all of those different options for the, concrete finishing. I'm wondering if like, would we care that it's aesthetically or design wise different from the bench that's there now? Right now, it's sort of like a rounded base. And this is more of like a rectangular one. Do we care about that?
I don't think people are looking at the benches when they're up there.
I agree. I think this is the most I've ever looked at a bench.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you ask me what the bases look like, and I've been up there
yeah.
100 times,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to tell you they were arches.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Thanks.
So,
So those are kind of our options. We've got free donation from the town. We've got, I think, durability and aesthetically, like this one's good, cheapest and aesthetically and composite.
And this is a surprise to Gary.
We,
as long as he's not watching our meetings.
well, as long as he's not watching our meetings, but I guess it was in the town, budget, right?
It is in the annual
Town
report.
meeting
It
days.
was in the annual report.
So yeah, keep in mind that you, at least the original idea was also to accompany this with a chestnut tree and a plaque. So
Correct.
the total price tag is gonna be more than just a bench, and if we have paper installation. shipping. That may not be included in the price you see here, so. I do have some concerns about something like, 1368, that's it's a pretty hefty price tag. Um. If it's gonna last for 50 years, it might be worth paying, for sure, but just something to keep in mind.
And the plaque we're talking about would just be like one of those bench plaques that goes on the.
Yeah.
Top, right?
The
Yeah.
engraving was an option, can we? Like I saw it on the first one. Scroll down. Keep going,
Yeah, there you go.
engraving, custom message board.
Yeah, I saw a mock-up of this and it kind of like, it takes up like the whole slat.
Oh,
On
it's
the,
too much.
yeah, it was, oh, yeah, kind of, like, it's not subtle,
But
Yeah, I don't know if I would like that.
Gary Holly.
based on everything we've looked at, I would tend to go with the composite 1 and 6 foot, even though I like the idea of the real wood. And a concrete base, I think for a third of the price, it would be nice to then not have to pinch pennies on the tree that we get. And
Mhm.
yeah. And I'd like to be able to do it as soon as possible, because he's now been been a while.
I'm thinking about what Lynn said that she would be into the recycled bench and I'm like trying to decide if I think that that's the case with Gary and if we could make that, if it's intentional rather than we just couldn't afford.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if there's a reason.
Well, that's why I asked if it was a surprise, like. Could we get his input?
I mean, he's definitely into having been his colleague, sustainability and the greening of Aiken and having a green roof was definitely his. I feel like that, not that that's his legacy, also forestry, but that that's part of his legacy in Rubenstein.
Mhm.
So if we could do it intentionally, there's definitely a connection, a.
The only problem I think with the ones the town already has is that they're just really
They're
small.
small,
Yeah.
Well, I can look into, I still have to see what. This one, so this is just an example, right? We would have to purchase new composite slats. For the bench, so we have to see what the supports are. I don't know if they're exactly identical to this. But it would look more or less new. It wouldn't look like a. Yeah. Junky hand-me-down bench,
Mhm.
The cute doggo.
that's her job.
I'm interested in what that could possibly be as far as if. But if you don't have a middle support, then you have to buy a middle support to make it a longer 6 foot bench. I
If you
mean,
wanted to go for 6 feet.
yeah, I mean, do we agree that 6 feet is sort of the ideal size, or is there an alternative? Do we disagree on that? I mean, it's okay if we do.
The other one is 6 feet.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Um,
Dave's a tall guy. I mean, it's
Yeah,
lining him up.
hmm. Yeah, 6 feet's nice, cause even if it's 2 people, you can still put your picnic on it.
Yeah.
There are bags in between
Yeah.
you, hiking
Yeah.
bags.
I just remember the times when, I mean, we haven't been up in a while, cause our kids are getting older, but, we always wanted to sit on the bench together, and it was always like, oh, that just taken. And you can't do that, either way.
I guess I also am just wondering the, um. Do you wanna try to price out a time and timeline, what it would be to do the is it gonna? Take a long time, is it gonna take substantially longer to get one of Todd's benches? Do we think?
I think that'd probably be faster than, cause most likely these purchases, with the possible exception of of this one would need to wait for the next fiscal year.
July to order.
Hmm. Where is this company? Is it in the US or
It
is it?
says central time, so.
Oh, okay.
Could be Saskatchewan.
Illinois,
There you go. I don't really see the July thing as being that big of a, like,
you know,
yeah, I don't, I mean.
July.
Yeah, it's
I don't know,
Yeah.
can you see out the window right now?
It's gonna be July.
So far.
okay,
You know,
well, I think that's, I mean, it sounds to me like. Well, that was a lot of helpful input, but maybe there's not like a final decision today and I can collect some more information. And maybe we pivot, you can use the last 7 minutes here to go to
Yeah.
Reed's agenda edition. I'll get some more information on what it would cost to get those composite slats for Todd's bench.
Also, like,
And
if one would be easier to put in that location than the other, because that composite seat. May have some structural disadvantages or advantages. Knowing that we need to bolt it into rock,
Yeah.
right?
right,
And so that's the other thing is like, I think that there needs to be like a technical evaluation.
Somebody who knows how to install bench.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a fair question.
Right, how, you could, I mean, yeah, you have to. You have to have it be on uneven ground, right, and some material might be easier
right.
to do that well.
And you wouldn't wanna carry a composite bench up there and then put it down and then just be like, oh, it's off center or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a stealable weight, I mean, 160 pounds, if it's not bolted down, somebody's gonna walk off with it, I
There you
guarantee
go.
it.
There you go.
Or
Yeah.
tip it over accidentally, which is.
No one's walking away with concrete, and that is kind of why I feel like concrete bench is there now, is because that thing's not going anywhere. So I would say, like, Dave, I'm happy to work with you on that with Todd if you want, I just, a quick technical review of like. What that site would be best suited for.
I will say, I don't feel like I personally need to see this topic again, like if there's a good option from the ones that we've discussed that will work into place and you're feeling good about it, I don't feel like I need to vote on it or something.
Yeah, you have our input.
Great,
Great, okay,
if that helps with the
It does, thank you.
efficiency.
Let's move on then to Reed's agenda item.
Oh, yes, okay, so last night, the select board received an initial draft of a volunteer policy. Presented by the town manager's office, and this was the first opportunity for people to read it and comment on it. The meeting was running quite behind, due to some robust conversation around ICE stuff early on in the public comment. So it was a little bit time crunched, but there was significant public comment about the volunteer policy. Aaron made a presentation about how it was developed. Select board had a brief discussion about it. There were questions about like how the line was drawn in the policy between things that were sort of like existing established programs that don't need as much oversight or steps for activities to take place, and then ones that are considered, I don't know, less formal or more ad hoc and need more process for each event or activity to be approved. That was discussed by the select board. Select board also had some discussions about age, like are all youth the same, or is there a way that like older youth could participate without their parents, but younger youth would need to have their parent there, things like that. So those are the types of questions the select board was asking, and I'm looking at Lynn and Laura, because you were listening and or participating, so I don't know. If you heard other topics during the select board discussion.
I would say the one that really. Caught my attention is the, there were exceptions for library and parks and rec. And so the select board brought that up of like, why do they get these exceptions? Like there's coaches with kids. Coaching,
Yeah,
whatever, through parks and recs and their parents aren't there.
yeah,
So why do we need to have a parent there for a 17-year-old who's gonna pull weeds, for example?
Yeah,
So they, I think it was Reddit who actually suggested that there's a carve out, for conservation related projects. And also said like, we can't let the invasives just go, like, I mean, it was like one of us.
well, I guess like that point just begs the question, and then in general, like, if we're just gonna make carve outs for like, for everything we think is important. Why do we have these restrictions and regulations in the first place, right? Like,
Yeah.
like if you can like the most dangerous thing of all of those options is adults coaching children, right? Like the thing that like actually results in harm at
Mhm.
like a disproportionate level is already a carve out. I think that we should be like just admitting that we don't need, like, I'm not on the select board, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that was a point, and
It
then
was this like right.
that, like, why are we having these carve outs, but then it came around to like, well, if this is the way it is, then we need a conservation carve out.
I guess I would be like,
Largely because-
why is it this way?
Yeah, and at what point you've got to carve out for
Yeah.
Parks and Rec, carve out for library, and then conservation, what else?
What else even is there?
What else are people?
Right,
volunteering
and the
for?
thing that should be the most stringent of those is definitely not weed pulling, it's adults working with children. Right, like that's the most concerning volunteer.
I mean, so what was the comment about having carve out for conservation?
The comment was that, when the select board talked through that there were carve outs for existing programs in Parks and Rec. For instance, they then said, why isn't there a carve out for conservation? Like, shouldn't there just be a similar carve out to say, well, if there's established programs that are seasonal, like every summer, at the end of summer, we're gonna be pulling parsnip, then why isn't that just a program that people can sign up for and get trained in and then go do the same way? So at
And
the
this
end,
came after Chapin's talk, like
That's-
Chapin gave
yeah.
pretty substantial and well thought out comments. And so this came after that, and I think it was in the context of invasives that. We're missing a lot of opportunities if we don't have, if people can't want to
Right, okay,
help control invasives and we're not letting them, then we're missing a big opportunity, just the problem compounds year after year. Can we also have a carve out for conservation, like if that's the way it's gonna be done, is this, these groups, library, Parks and Recs get different rules, then can we have different rules for conservation?
I guess I'm fine with that outcome, I just fundamentally am like, why do we even have the rules?
Well, that was definitely challenged too, like it was
Yeah, they
challenged
were.
across the board,
Yeah.
and then like saying, well, if that can't be, then we wanna carve out for conservation, is what Greta, I think, it was Greta, right, it was most.
Reed, did they vote on anything? Was there any resolution?
that was what I was gonna kind of get to, is that I think the point is, I think. It would be valuable for everybody on the commission to have seen that discussion. It was about 35 minutes, about halfway through the select board meeting last night. It's worth listening to get a full picture of like what the select board is queuing in on. For me, the takeaway was, I'm mostly concerned with the process, because I didn't see like traditionally, if you're gonna set a policy or a program for people, then you would go to those people and say, what do you need as volunteers to be successful? How do we structure a program that will
Right,
work for
there's
people
none
who
of
want
that.
to
Yeah.
volunteer? In this case, that we already have a policy written and we haven't done that. So that was my main comment to the select board, is I'm just concerned about the process. I think we need to start with, what does a successful volunteering environment program look like? And then how much of that can we make happen within our constraints of insurance and legal counsel comments? At the end, the select board didn't really give direction to at least my opinion was, they didn't give direction to staff. They basically said, keep working on it. It sounds like we're looking for a carve out for conservation or something like that.
They said they couldn't approve it, they said we can't approve
We
it.
can't approve it as it's
Yeah.
drafted, and.
Yeah.
But there
Because
was,
it's not polished enough.
because they had too many concerns, I think, not necessarily polishing, but they're like, I don't see how this works for conservation. I don't see how this
youth.
works for youth.
Yeah.
Like, you need to do more. about that? How are you gonna vet people? Is it through the mandatory reporting requirements as a lot of other programs do it, or is it something else?
So the library and Parks and Rec must do mandatory reporting, right, cause children,
I don't know.
like they must do background. I
There
guess.
wasn't anybody there to comment on that, so I don't know.
So-
But at the end, they didn't really give instruction, and that was a little bit concerning to me, because I just think that it's basically gonna take a while for the
Mhm.
select board and the management office to settle on something. And I didn't know whether this body wanted to weigh in on the topic on what we would like to see happen.
That's what I was thinking, like, I guess like my gut while you were talking was, should we write a memo that's like, we hope. Like, this is what we hope the process would be like, or what we would like to see that, like, what is our. I do think that this is how quite a bit of conservation work has historically gotten done in town.
Meaning most of it.
Yeah, yeah. So how do we, what is our purview to?
Well, I think-
Cause we're not leading the charge in terms of writing the policy, would it be appropriate for us to be like, do you want us to take that off your plate and like? Fine tune it and send it back to the
Well,
manager's
to be
office?
fair, David, you've been involved and you've been meeting with Aaron and giving.
But I
feedback,
mean,
right?
like this body.
Yeah, right, and I think that's different, I think, if you would like to weigh in, you absolutely should, so my recommendation would be. And maybe everyone should watch that, segment over the next, week and read the draft, it's like 38 pages or something. And then we can put it on the agenda for, a more substantial conversation in 2 weeks. It's clearly not gonna be rushed through.
It's not gonna go fast.
Classic comment.
Okay,
To some
so let's table that for now and we can move on to our next topic.
All right, well, we're joined by 2 guests.
Hi.
Randy Becker, and if you wanna introduce yourselves.
I'm Randy. I'm Audrey. Okay, so we have a little gift for you. It's a little bookmark.
Wow, thank
Just
you.
no pressure though, so you can still say no,
My son is gonna be so excited.
but it's, everyone needs a bookmark. So we are here today, because we are proposing a free little library. We would cover all the costs. We live right next to Suckerbrook, so we really can't have it on our property because no one can stop safely, but we were hoping that maybe we could put it at the trailhead. And just, we would still need help being able to like install it and do everything, but we would build it at our home and we would take care of it and provide all the books. Avi is an avid reader and loves to find free little bookshops all over the place, so we scour Burlington, all over Vermont, Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina, I mean. And yeah, so we wrote a little bit of why free little libraries are really important for the community. Do you want to talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that?
Well, they give greater access to books, so more people can get access to like a wide variety of books. It promotes literacy, cultivates the spirit of generosity, helps build community connection, and also sustainable food sharing.
And I will say we have a few little stories, so we like to camp a lot. And at Stillwater, there's a free little bookshop at one of the little country stores that's close by, and we had already read all of our Harry Potter, we had no more books to read, and we got a book called Bedtime Stories, and it was so funny, we still talk about it, we read it in one night, so it was just like a fun, like little, free little library story. And then another time too, we were camping at Ricker, and I decided to make the kids bike to Stillwater. And she was not happy with me. She is like, I'm done. I'm not biking anymore. I'm going back. I'm like, just come on. It's just a couple more miles, And then when we got there at the free little library at Stillwater, we found the Golden Hunger Games. So it now sits in her bookcase as just a really prized selection.
I see those titles on here.
Yeah. We tried to choose some that we have actually gotten from the free little library. It's great artwork. Thank you. So I don't know really what it takes to go in. I don't know if it's another thing I will say that I kind of thought too is that, hiking Suckerbrook, it's a beautiful hike, obviously, mile up, mile down. But I do think about, when your kids are little and you're like, all right, there's the free little library, but if we make it up and we make it down, we can look for books. Or the next time we go, let's bring a little book to donate back to the, and it, I think it would, to me, it would be like a little bit of an inspiration to get up. I don't know, as having young kids, not when they were young, there was always motivations to get up a trail or down a trail. Yeah, so I don't know, yeah,
Thank you
So
for
that's
coming.
the proposal, and do you guys have any questions or?
I guess, I'll just start by saying the Williston Library does keep records of all of the free little libraries in town. And so my wife is on the board of trustees, and so she said, you better support the little library that they're asking to build. And tell them to register with the library.
Okay.
And there's a big database that you can like the organization Little Free Library
Yeah,
has like, you probably already know this, but you can like drop a pin.
yeah,
And so then you can see on a map like where they all are.
yeah.
You wanna introduce yourself? Stormy?
Oh, yeah. I'm Kim Coleman.
Laura Meyer.
Dave Westman.
Lynn Blevins.
Read card.
And I'm Dave Maroney. So, yeah, so the Conservation Commission is kind of in charge of putting together the management plans for all the town natural areas and interpreting kind of which activities and proposals kind of fit within the plan for a given place. So that's really why this is the venue to talk about it, you know. The question is really not, is it a great idea, because it's a great idea, Little Libraries, but is Sucker Brook kind of the right place for a Little Free Library, given its conservation purpose and history and all of that? So that's all I want to say, just kind of a quick preface, but
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think let's have that discussion of like, is that parking lot area at Sucker Brook the, I'm not very familiar with it, mostly because I don't go to Sucker Brook very often because it's not my sort of part of town. But for those who are familiar with it, I think, you know, is that parking lot a suitable location for it? Start with Reed.
Yeah, first of all, big fan of Little Free Libraries, we've used them, and we always get, even if we don't read something, we get excited to like, oh, see what's in there. We like look through the books, and like, oh, that's really cool, or that's missing this book or whatever.
I always, sometimes I'm like, someone's giving that away. Like, the
So,
book was great. Do I want to read it 5 more times?
so when I heard about the idea, my first thought was like, oh, a Sucker Brook, okay, yeah, that's like a not unconventional place to have a Little Free Library, but I like unconventional places too. And then the thought that got me excited about the idea was if it was themed. So if it was a nature themed, or outdoor themed box that encouraged people like, you know, bring a book to donate to the Little Free Library that's about nature, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. There could be books in there that help people identify plants and animals. There could be like, you know, those little truck like laminated guides of like how to recognize birds of prey from underneath and stuff, you know, all sorts of things that people could borrow, use it on the hike, and then put it back in the Little Free Library when they're done with it. So that thought got me excited about it because in terms of our management plan for Sucker Brook, I mean, that's kind of the point of a public access like that. That place is not a place we're gonna go and throw a frisbee. That's a place to hike, to observe nature, to learn a little bit about ecology, to notice maybe the different habitats that you're walking through. So I think that idea to me gets kind of aligns it better with our goals for Sucker Brook. And then my only concerns were, I was trying to think through like, is that gonna cause litter? Are people gonna take books and then like just discard them? Probably not. Most people are pretty respectful of that, but it could happen. Every once in a while, we do have vandalism on our trail system, and that would be a target for vandalism. So, you know, that crossed my mind. And then people park everywhere there. And the snowplow has to get up in there and stuff. So I just think the placement would need to be thought through. Like, how do we put this somewhere that's accessible for people, but isn't where it's gonna get damaged accidentally? So those were my thoughts about it.
Thanks.
And a really cool idea.
I'm excited about it. We just, for one of my projects at work, we just bought them for a community garden in Burlington, and like there's 2 and one is for just like traditional little free library, whatever people put in there, and the other one is gardening tools that people can like kind of like honor system check out and use in the garden. And then it's also gonna have like a little, like an attached guide, so you can like write the weather, and it's geared towards. It's at Hunt Middle School, so it's geared towards like families, so it would be.
I mean, like little kid binoculars,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Something something like that.
So we haven't done this yet, so I have, like, those items are probably gonna walk away, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's a cool idea nonetheless,
Are
yeah.
there trail maps of Suckerbrook and the surrounding area that we would have and, you know, could stock every season in something like that? I mean, I've certainly seen.
Currently, no, in fact, currently there's no sign, the existing sign there was, it rotted, it was
Yeah.
deteriorated and rotted out, it was removed last year. And it's, I think it's a good time to think about this stuff, because right now, we have an Eagle Scout planning to put a new kiosk up there at the trailhead, so.
Ooh, could they be combined into
We could be
one, like,
thinking
little-
about. Maybe not combine, well, I mean, potentially, but two separate projects,
Yeah.
yeah, you could maybe have them adjacent or attached or something like that, but. I think it's helpful to keep the kind of projects separate.
Where have you all been thinking about placement and where would it go?
Well, part of me thought that Suckerbrook, because we're right there, so we share a road with Sucker, or like, so we would be able to make sure that there's nothing happening, or, if something went wrong, but many years ago, my dog ran up Suckerbrook and someone's like, your dog, I left her on when you get up to that trailhead, there's like a little dip down before you get to the main trail, and there's some space there. There used to be like, I guess what you're talking about, that rotted out, that little place where you could I don't even know what it was, but it's just like a pole now. I
Right.
think. Yeah. So like somewhere in there, like it's not really close to the parking, but it's
Okay.
a little off,
Mm-hmm.
a little off, but I don't know if that damages the area, but there was that little pole. Probably around that little.
So you were
pole.
thinking in the trail a little.
Well, like there's the parking area. And then there's like a little woodsy area before the trail starts, but there's room.
Yeah,
correct.
There, yeah.
So visible from the parking lot, but
Yeah.
not like.
Oh, I didn't think that it would be visible from the parking lot, but that's something I didn't, there's not really that much room on the road. But that's something for to discuss. I thought more once you're in the parking lot, right before the trailhead, just so it's not,
oh yeah, thanks, Dave.
yeah.
Yeah, actually, that winter photo is perfect because you can see through them now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's space, so you come up the steep road with the lot is here. And then there's a little bit of an area here, which is kind of the trailhead, or maybe this is the trail, I can't quite see.
I think it's that one.
Oh, yeah, no, it is. It looks like it's up here. So, yeah, there's a little bit of an area here where, the math box was and the sign was, and the kiosk will go. And I'd imagine that we can find a space for it.
And where's your house in relation to that?
So we share that road, so the road to Suckerbrook is right there, we're like, right there, that road that, if you go down, where it must be that road, Brook Hollow.
Oh, okay.
Well, we have made like a little area that we can jump into the forest. Right from our road, that's how we get to Suckerbrook, and then, but so we're really easily accessed to the trailhead,
Yeah,
we're,
I see.
yeah.
I like the idea, I love the idea, my husband even said to me, there should be.
Yeah.
Thanks too.
You're fully charged, I might just steal your card rather than.
No, at UVM, I just haven't tried.
Oh, I'm an art therapist.
Oh, yeah. You're what?
I'm an art therapist.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So one of my grad students, do you know Maisie?
This sounds familiar.
Science.
So,
One of my grad students is working with Maisie on that community garden. So you'll see new little free libraries at Hunt this summer, but they're gonna be like from the organization. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
We
yes.
just ordered them from the organization.
So Dave, we have clearly support from the commission for a free little library. What more do you need from us in order to sort of work with,
I think that's fine. If you
Okay.
want to motion your support, you're welcome to, but I think you've made it clear, so,
So
however formal you'd like
would
to
you
be.
guys work with Dave to like sort of find the placement and
Yeah,
the
for sure,
design and
yeah,
all that?
and we can look at the free little library kits, cause we're hoping that we can like build it. And we can make it nature themed, like we can paint some kind of fun nature
Fantastic.
things on it, it's like.
The little free nature library.
Yeah, a little free nature library.
And register with,
Yes, and we
Indoor
do all
game.
of the extra stuff and then, and then whatever you guys tell us to do, we'll do, and yeah,
that would be great. We'd love to have you back and you can give us an update on it.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Yeah,
much.
thank
It's
you
a great
so
idea.
much for having us.
Thank you.
There's a really good one at the top of Stage Road.
Okay,
Like,
all right, put that on our list.
It always has like great stuff in it, and I'm like, who is doing this? Like at the top of the stage.
Thank you, and it was very impressive also to be able to sit here and hear what you guys do behind the scenes of our great town, and yeah, so thanks for all your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Especially.
It's great to meet you.
Yeah.
Like one convention.
Right. The hard hitting.
That one's nice.
Yes,
I don't know if I can shape this.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, yes, cheers.
there's the two super comfy chairs.
Yeah,
Well,
we
there's
should
some
grab
there
a
that are-
comfier red one.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, Dave, you want to sit down a little bit?
I have an ongoing
ones
thing
are-
where I'm like,
are,
who's the person that sits in this chair? In between meetings and raises it all, like, how is it every Wednesday when I come in, it's like all the way up here? And I'm like, who is doing this? I wanted to meet them, and then did they come in and sit in the chair and go, who's doing this? I'm like, lower.
And there's like the constant battle, of, like, do I want to rock or do I not want to like this the whole time? And everyone should like walk this up. And hey,
I don't know, mine does it, yeah. I'm into it.
it's a good thing in position.
I didn't even know you could do that, that's cool.
Push it in, like, push it in and pull it out of the side.
Hey, Dana, how are you doing?
The lock is.
Yeah. CD, good see.
Hey. This is a little bit bigger than we had, our last
Do we
meeting.
wanna move over so that everyone can?
Yeah.
Can see each other.
All right,
I don't know, I'll get cozy.
so this is, in advance of, or review of DP 2504.1, the Marcotte subdivision. And, we had it's kind of a continuance from the last meeting where we got a, update from Arrowwood on the environmental review. And the main purpose of this agenda is to essentially review the staff report and go through a number of the recommendations that have been presented. So do we need to do introductions or have we all been introduced at this point?
I'm all set.
I think, I think, I'm not sure, but.
This is my brother David.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Hi.
Family relation, all right, great.
I don't think we've met yet. I'm Emily, senior planner.
Hi, I'm Leighton Blevins.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Good, then let's begin and, if it works for
Yeah.
Dave and Emily, we
Maybe a
can
co-host.
start with the staff report
Yes.
when you're ready.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming there's no one else on the Zoom call that needs to be patched in.
No, Reed Willis is present today, but this is an observer.
Right. And Arrowwood is not.
No.
Right.
Oh. Or do I have to share permissions now? Okay, I don't have to first.
Steve Smith, wow.
There we go. Alright, so, last meeting on April 15th, you guys took a look at the habitat disturbance assessment for the Marcotte subdivision. And this week, we're gonna focus on, some of the action items that were recommended from that assessment. As well as go through some of the other, standards of, the conservation areas, section of the bylaw. Recommendations that will go to the Development Review Board, so this has a public hearing with the DRB later this month on May 26th.
Still feels like April outside.
Mhm.
So this is a discretionary permit request for a 10 lot subdivision. 8 of those lots will be house lots. And 2 of those lots will be open space lots. Currently, this parcel is vacant. It doesn't have any structures on it. It has a forest road and has been used for forestry purposes. So the project history, the conservation and DRB review of pre-application took place in November 2024. The project went through earth management review March 2025. And that brings us to April and May of this year where the discretionary permit is going through review. For ERF prioritization, this parcel has a high priority. That use of the environmental reserve fund and ERF prioritization is beyond the scope of this subdivision review, but they do dovetail a little bit. So if this project moves forward as a market rate growth management project, then the final plans would need to include documentation about town or third-party open space conservation, whether that's outright ownership or an easement. There's many options available there. And that may or may not involve the environmental reserve fund. The other pathway for this project is moving through subdivision as an inclusionary zoning project. So if they decide to abandon their growth management score, including those points where they would have to do something for conservation, they could move forward as an inclusionary zoning project. And at final plans, they would need to show that one of those house lots is deed restricted at an affordable level of 100% area median income. And the open space would need to be 1 parcel, not 2. We'll get to that further. So again, environmental reserve fund, ERF prioritization, slightly beyond the scope of subdivision, but how those 2 things relate just plays into how this project would file its final plans and what documentation is shown. There are some trail easements shown on the official map. These connect roughly from the Lake Iroquois Recreation District property line. One goes more westerly towards South Road with an intention to connect between South Road and Oak Hill Road to the Oak Hill trails on the Isham Farm property. The other trail connection also starts from Lake Iroquois but goes more north-south along the ridge line with an intention to maybe connect to the mud pond conservation areas. Our official map does not take into consideration what's going on outside the town boundary, so this property does share a boundary with Richmond, and I'll just note, it's interesting that Richmond side has large contiguous forest holdings as well. But that's not something that's mapped on our town official map. The project did score 15 out of 20 points in growth management for providing a trail easement. This trail easement follows the property boundaries. So I'll start first. This is the map that the Development Review Board saw when they were scoring and assigning growth management projects in March 2025. It shows that easement going along Beartown Lane and then continuing along the property line, where it would then connect with the larger open space parcel at the top of the subdivision. The utility of this trail easement is a little bit tricky, so the areas highlighted in red are where it crosses a wetland or a stream. Yellow is a segment of unconstrained land, and orange is TBD. I'm not sure that area was fully delineated, so we don't really know if a trail along there would be fine. So the project got 15 out of 20 points for this trail easement. If executed, it would be very challenging, if not impossible, to get state permitting and construct a trail strictly in that alignment. Significant habitat area. So this is mapped with wildlife habitat area and travel corridor. The habitat disturbance assessment was done by Arrowwood and submitted on April 8th, and you went into all the fun and interesting details of that on April 15th. About the habitats and species that are out here. Unique natural communities, there is one mapped on the property. However, it's fully within the open space area. So the habitat assessment didn't assess this unique natural community. It's associated with the Upper Lake Iroquois watershed. So when you look back at these wetlands, extend further down onto the abutting Laura Handy property and towards Lake Iroquois is where that habitat area is, and all of these lots are far away from that unique community. There are also no uncommon, rare, threatened, or endangered species mapped on the property. And farmlands of local importance are also not identified on the property. There is some scenic view shed. So there's a little bit of scenic view shed along South Road, which would impact lot one. I didn't include it in the staff report, but in terms of growth management, did get, I think, 10 out of 20 points for that minimally visible. So the existing forest buffer will provide some visual screening of that house from South Road, but it will by no means be invisible. And there is an expectation that there will be some home site views along South Road. The more important view is the ridge line on the south and western or eastern part of the property. And lots 6 and 7 are proposed within that lighter pink. So lots 6 and 7 are approximately here. At pre-application, there was no specific recommendation made either by the Conservation Commission or DRB about view shed. But there are some things for you to keep in mind as we move down to chapter 31. Flood areas, not applicable. There's no flood hazard zones on this lot. Shifting over now to chapter 29. The erosion and runoff control, a professional erosion and runoff control plan is required. The recommendation that I have is that it be amended to include a construction phasing plan for the storage and stockpiling of materials. And a construction phasing plan to limit the total amount of disturbed area. So we see where things would be stored on individual home sites. But just thinking sequentially about the first phase of road construction, where is everything gonna go? How is it all gonna be contained as you go from road construction to house lot construction? Watershed protection buffers, so there are class 2 wetlands and unnamed streams on the property. There are places where the plans show boulders to delineate some of those wetland buffers. The recommendation would be to go from 30-foot spacing to 50-foot spacing. And then in the list of recommendations, I include some tweaks associated with some of the lots. So lot 1, there should be some boulders, probably easier to visualize. So lot 1, the wetland buffer is just beyond the property line, so the recommendation would be some boulders along here and the well, just to delineate that building envelope and yard space from the property line and the wetland buffer. Lot 2 along the buffer near the driveway and Caboose Lane, and there's another recommendation about so chapter 31, when we get down there, we'll talk about wetland and watershed buffers must be in the open space area. So the recommendation would be truncating this private lot, bringing it back, so all of that buffer is within the open space associated with the shared private driveway. And then adding a couple buffers along that driveway area just to delineate where the mowing should stop near that driveway.
So this is Caboose Lane, I'm sorry, the orientation. You guys are very familiar with this site.
All
I'm
good.
A little bit less so. So this is Caboose Lane, not the site off of South Road.
Correct. All of the driveways will be off Caboose Lane, which is the shared private driveway. So South Road is like right here, you can see where Caboose Lane driveway apron comes into South Road and South Road right away over here. So with lot 2, we're thinking about this segment of wetland buffer, where the driveway comes in. When I say driveway, I mean lot 2's house driveway comes to the shared Caboose Lane driveway.
And is Caboose Lane part of the open space? Is that?
Yes, so
That's what I
open
thought I read,
space, roads and utilities can cross and be located in open space.
Okay.
And to maintain that single lot contiguity, all of Caboose Lane is within that HOA private open space, so, yeah, okay. Lot 3, additional boulders near the septic system, and there's also another recommendation to move the property line, so when we jump over to lot 3, so now we're on that northern side of Caboose Lane. the property line goes through the septic system, and I think it would just make more sense for it to follow the wetland buffer line with the boulders. And it's one of two placements where there's this little, I wouldn't say abnormality, but just a little detail on the plat where because the septic system is in the open space, it needs an easement. And if you just draw the line, so all the septic systems are on the house lots, even though they can be in the open space by our bylaw, it would just make things cleaner on the plat. There would need to be a cross easement between the private house lot and the HOA open space lot. And yes, it brings the property line a little bit closer to the wetland buffer, no more so than any of the other lots, and it would have that boulder delineation, so I think it just makes things a little bit simpler to understand on the map and on the ground. And then lots 4 through 8 comply as proposed in terms of where the lot line and the building envelopes are with the wetland buffers. I'll pause there for questions before we jump into chapter 31.
Okay, any question?
To clarify, Emily, did you say, moving from 30 feet spacing of boulders to 15 feet? So making them, half as far apart?
Yeah,
I just wanted, I couldn't hear 15 versus 50.
yeah, from 30 feet to 15 feet, so half the distance.
That's for visibility and clarity of the, because it is a winding
Yeah,
border.
because it's a winding border, visibility, clarity, I mean, I don't think we can get boulders so close that, you know, a lawnmower couldn't fit between them, that would be a little bit aggressive. But just something that's more across the room versus double this room. Would be good, and I can more easily follow that meandering line. I probably wouldn't recommend fences here because there's a lot of boulders on the site that could be used. Probably not John's hep boulder, that one's probably gonna stay. Yeah, he's probably still growing, I'm sure. Um. But fences, just with how wet and wooded it is here, they're very likely to erode quickly and boulders stay there forever.
It's interesting to note that,
Yes.
there's sort of like, there's a property line. On lot 3, that you were sort of just saying that the property line is proposed in sort of like a awkward way. Whereas like, and I think I read this in your report, like the effective space is sort of gonna sort of be where those boulders are anyways, right? And so is that recommendation essentially is slightly expanding the property a little bit, and so it is technically gonna be eroding then into a little bit of that open space? Like it's 98 acres and this would be like a de minimis or something like that?
Yeah, this lot, its total square footage is 2.11. The building envelope here is about a half acre. So yeah, it's a very de minimis amount, and I know with like platting, it's like. The more angles you put in, the more pins you're paying to put on the site, so I could see.
That's exactly right. Yeah,
I
that's
could
exactly
see-
right.
I could see maybe shifting some of the lines around, so you still get the same number of pins, like if this.
Yep.
This one came in and you can maybe create a straightaway a little bit, so you still get the same number of pins.
Right, and we don't have any problems with shift, this is an oversight, in my opinion, we can certainly move that top corner down. Put the inflection point instead of a little further, you know, the midpoint, we can move that up. So we can certainly do that, as it's an HOA land, you know, they do have 1/8 interest in it, so that I don't believe they would need an easement in order to put a septic system there, but. I think for simplicity, that would be good, to make sure that all the septic systems are on their own lots, as they can't be in the wetland buffers anyway. And then the boulders that were shown there,
So this
we're
is
showing an easement, well, there you go. But if you go back to that other screen. So we're showing the demarcation, it's a 50-foot buffer, but the boulders are spaced 30 feet, so not 50. So staff's recommendation is to go down to 15. So the 30-foot demarcation is a wetland program rule. So we have a we're already on, public notice for an individual wetland permit for this project. Basically, the wetland rules say if we're gonna be impacting or planning to impact within 25 feet of a wetland buffer, the demarcation rule comes into effect. So they allow birdhouses, boulders, split rail fence, whatever it may be. We agree, that boulders tend to, last the longest. Split rail fence looks great day one, but 10 years later,
Mhm.
10 years later, not so much. We prefer to keep it at 30 foot, as that's a consistent wetland rule that's been implemented for a number of years now. Don't have a huge issue with going to 15, but the wetland rules are 30 foot spacing, so.
We will have to travel the land more to get in with equipment to put boulders in. We're not gonna walk them in by hand, so.
And that's why they're only in some spots. Cause there's only some spots where we're proposing impact within 25 feet to the buffer. The wetlands program, rather than, and if you zoom out to the overall, you'll see the amount of wetlands and buffers that are part of this project. I mean, you're talking over a mile of buffer likely. So they don't have you demarcate everything, they have you demarcate the places that are most likely to experience encroachment over the years. So that's why there's demarcation there on this particular lot. If you go through the other ones, I hope we're being consistent.
If you stand in the middle of a 30-foot zone, you're only looking 15 feet either way, so you're not more than 15 feet from a boulder at any time.
That's true.
That's true.
So you're not seeing it here, on lot one. The reason is this was submitted before our wetland permit went on notice, which was just earlier this week or late last week.
Yeah.
So that was one of the technical review comments that the wetlands program has. So now in our wetlands permit, we are showing demarcation on lot one, a portion of lot two, that there were 3 or 4 lots that they've been added to since. And while we're on this sheet, if you don't mind looking at lot two, Emily. Staff's comment was to adjust our property line in accordance with the wetland shown on the top of your screen there. So that wetland exists on the north side of Caboose Lane. So those 2 wetlands that you see, you can see the utility pole, but there's 2, right? And basically, just so we're all on the same page, the wetlands associated with this property, as there's a fair amount of grade from the north side to the south side, they're all pretty much associated with drainage ways. So there's not very many flat, high value, what I would say, wetlands. Primarily, they're all associated with drainage ways. The soils are so heavy here that basically wherever water is being concentrated and conveyed is now considered wetlands under the current rules. So we would ask that the boundary lines, just due to simplicity, I mean, the boundary lines go to the frontage of a new 50-foot easement that's being associated with Caboose Lane and the shared drive, just for simplicity, so we don't have a little stretch of no man's land there. As the wetlands are on the north side of an existing private road that isn't planning on changing, I don't see a ton of value with moving our front property lines to the buffer limits on this lot specifically. The other ones, I think may make more sense, but is this one, like I said, having a strip of 10, 15, 20 feet for kind of an awkward, and an awkward size there. I don't know if that makes a ton of sense, just for this lot specifically.
So Emily, why don't you continue
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we can, we'll get to all these recommendations.
Yeah. Yeah, so shifting over to chapter 31, 31-7 open space development, they've well exceeded that 75% minimum open space area. There's about 91% of the property would be conserved in open space. 31-7-2 talks about the lands that must or should be in the open space. So number 1 is that watershed protection buffer, and that's a recommendation. Number 4, what Brian was commenting on, we can get to that towards the end. But the strictest read of that standard is that open space must include all those watershed protection buffers. Conservation areas, we are anticipating compliance, but there is a recommendation about lots 6, 7, and 8. All conservation areas must be within the open space to the extent consistent with the landowner's beneficial use. Overall, in a open space subdivision like this one, there is a lot of, minimizing the consumption of those conservation areas, so we're containing the development to the northern part of the parcel. Along the existing caboose lane, and forestry road. So overall, this conservation open space subdivision is minimizing consumption, but there are a couple places on lot 6, 7, and 8 where we wanna take a closer look. Scenic view sheds. Lots 1, 6, and 7 are in that scenic view shed area. And there are some mitigating measures that the Conservation Commission could consider. Slopes greater than 30%. Technically, those must all be in the open space. I think functionally that gets challenging because they tend to be intermingled with that 15 to 20%. The building envelopes avoid the 30% and greater slopes and are minimizing the encroachment into that 15 and 29% slopes. So the recommendations are really about lot 6 and 7, where there's a lot of additional land beyond the building envelope that contains those steeper slopes that, bringing those lot lines in a little bit could reduce, the amount of private lots with, steep slopes greater than 30% and also 15 to 29%. The bylaw does provide some squish for the 15 to 29% where, they should be in the open space, but it's not that outright requirement. There is that reduced density of 1 dwelling per 10 acres, and that reduced density is also utilized for the driveway standard and the water system. It complies as proposed with open space contiguity. There's some uses allowed in the protected open space, so what we talked about before, those septic systems can be in open space. Getting all of them within the private lots in those 2 little areas on lot 3, and I think it's lot. Over to the plat, it's a little easier to read. Yeah, lot 4, where it's actually lot 5 septic system is extending just a little bit into the open space. Those are the 2 places. Open space legal protection and platted as a separate lot. So at final plans of plat, lots 9 and 10 must be combined into a single lot if the open space is not dedicated to the town. Or a third party. And it must be platted. 3178 must be platted like all of the house lots. So looking back at the plat on page 9. It's got all of the detailed information for the new house lots and the abutting parcels to lot 9 and then lot 10, knowing those boundaries for the remainder of the parcel. There is the requirement that open space be a single lot, so the recommendation here is if that larger open space lot is gonna be protected by just a third party easement and still under the same ownership, then it should be one contiguous lot. I think it's shown as 2 separate lots because we don't prohibit boundary line adjustments or future subdivisions of open space if somebody else wanted to own that open space, as long as those requirements are met. So that's something that would be, determined and finalized at final plans, depending on how things go. So it's not something that needs to be decided at Conservation Commission or the Development Review Board. It would be at final plans, what documentation is shown. Designated home site, so there's a half-acre clearing limit. We're just asking for a little bit more information. And there are some places where the building envelope leaves some space between the building envelope and its septic system or some other yard space where it's like, well, you're clearing that area. It's likely gonna be used by a building envelope, so asking them to look at either delineating the building envelope or reducing the amount of clearing on some of those lots, just to avoid situations where homeowners wanna expand their lawn or build structures beyond their building envelope where they're not supposed to.
And like, you show, sorry.
Yeah, I have a question actually on this one. So is it just the default that the half acre clearing per home site is what's sort of expected? Is that what we're looking at? I'm just looking at lots 7 and 6, you know, they are large, right? And so is that still assumed that the clearing for the home is only a half acre?
So the caveat with clearing limits is the designated home site is for the house and the parking and the yard. But clearing can extend beyond that for septic utilities, longer portions of driveway. So they are clearing beyond the building envelope. The building envelope is a half acre. So looking at lot 6 and 7, the building envelope runs right behind the single family home. And then there's a lot of yard between that and the septic system, and that's where people are gonna wanna put their backyard deck or pool or sauna or whatever. We get a lot of ideas. So if that clearing area, maybe that clearing is reduced between the home and the septic system to, so that area
Yeah.
doesn't look like the building.
I think, and I agree with what you're saying, Emily, like if you scroll down a little bit and see how the well is on lot 7. See how we have kind of this little narrow clearing limit to get out to the well? I think that's generally staff's comment about in the septic system on lot 8. See how we're, if you scroll down even a little bit more.
Oh, yes,
See
wait,
how we're kind of limiting the amount of tree clearing? Now, the contractors would prefer how we have it on 7, the septic system on 7, the one where, you know, in 6
right
there.
behind.
But we can certainly adjust the clearing limits on some of those lots to be more similar to the septic system on lot 8 and the well on lot 7, to just be a little more cognizant of. Yeah, exactly, and I totally understand the comment about if it's all cleared, like the likelihood of encroachment goes up rather than if there's some mature trees in there. So I think it'll likely be a combination of maybe like for lot 6, I think that building envelope probably runs a little too narrow to northeast to north-south. It may be pulling some of that in and, you know, widening it a little deeper so it's closer to the septic system, but also changing that clearing limit. So we get access to the mound, we have space to put the force main in, power. But you know, there is some more separation there than what we're showing now.
Yeah, like looking at lot 7, a lot of the building envelope is dedicated to that driveway, and driveways
Right.
can extend beyond the building envelope,
Yeah.
so yeah, if you shift it,
A little bit of
that
both, I
area.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some.
Also more functional for the homeowner, if they do wanna put a sauna out there or something, if they have a little space between them.
Yep.
Behind their house that is part of the
yep.
approved clearing for the building envelope, that's better.
And what's tricky about this is unlike like an RZD type of development where there isn't a whole lot of imagination on where the building goes. Everything's fairly tight. Out here, the building can go anywhere within the half acre. So we're just showing pictorially where these homes are. But realistically, they can be anywhere within that half acre building envelope. So whoever
Yeah.
decides to build there may have different ideas, and so we don't really know, you know, so that's somewhat challenging, but I think we can thread the needle and
Now I understand.
do what staff is asking, so.
Yeah, so it's making the best guess for this first round of final plans, and it's not uncommon. We have had even recently a couple applications where people come back to amend their building envelope because they get out on the site and they realize situating things might be slightly different. It could be a better view, but it's not encroaching on the habitat area, so is there a potential for a future homeowner coming in to amend the subdivision and amend their building envelope slightly? That's a possible route in the future, but I think for this first iteration, make the best first guess you can, so it's not like you walk out your back door and you can't even put a deck off your home.
Any place there's a deep well, we have to allow access for the well drilling machine, so that takes a certain amount of clearing.
Yep.
And you gotta also have something for the future, cause that pump is not gonna last forever, so you gotta get in a truck. Pull the pump out and replace it at some point, so you can't just like bury them way in the back and say, forget it.
No,
Yeah.
no, and luckily we were able to get septic systems fairly close to the lots. The only one that's a little further away is lot 5, which is on the adjacent lot 6. But generally speaking, I think we can keep a narrower kind of access construction limit. Again, similar to the well on lot 7 and the septic on lot 8. But I think we can certainly address that that comment without too much trouble.
Okay. Okay.
Cool. We're all good with density, minimum lot size, the clustering. There is an open space buffer width of 100 feet between lot 6 and the adjoining property's open space. So, jump back over to the overall plan. So on the Forrester Keller property, I believe it's the one that has, some open space, so we're ensuring that the Marcotte open space is contiguous. With the neighboring, I think before lot 6 went right up to the property line.
Yeah, it was either right up to it or awfully close.
Yeah.
So I think the DRB asked us to maintain 100 feet, is that right?
Yeah,
Maybe it wasn't that close.
lot, 31-9 lots and home sites, were mostly good here. More information is needed about the grading plan for lots 6 and 7. Again, this might play into some of that building envelope, sussing it out. So when you look at, here's lot 3, you can see where there's a grading plan around that home for how the terrain would be sloped. When you look at lot 6 and 7, there isn't a grading plan around those homes.
Yeah, so the rationale with this is we're subject to a state stormwater discharge permit, because we're proposing more. Or we're expanding the impervious acre on this lot by more than an acre, okay, so where we've graded is consistent with what would be necessary in order to maintain compliance with that stormwater discharge permit. So this is the ponds discharge or stormwater permit, not the erosion control one. So in rural settings, stormwater can be significantly more complicated than your typical public street. The rationale is there's a lot of upland area that you gotta separate from your impervious runoff, otherwise your ponds and facilities get enormous. So basically, what we've done here is the swale on the uphill side of the driveway is meant to convey flow that we're not required to capture, hold, treat, and discharge, subject to our permit. The swale on the low side of the driveway, and the driveway's tipped to the low side, is the swale that we're collecting and routing to our ponds. So where we've graded it is where we feel that the contractor is gonna need a little more of a nudge of how to get the stormwater to the correct place in order to maintain compliance with that permit. The reason we didn't do it on these is you can see where the stormwater feature is down below. There's no way that the water from the uphill sides on 6 and 7 won't get there, because they're just directly above. So in a rural setting like this, it's not uncommon for us not to grade the lots at all. So because we don't know where the lot's going, right? We don't know where the building's going. So even though we're showing it nicely on lot, what is that, 5 that we're showing, or 4? They may put the house, 50 feet to the left. Well, then all of a sudden our grading plan is, not as helpful. So I would just like to, make that clear that what the rationale for why some things are graded more accurately than others are more for stormwater purposes rather than strict, this is where the house going, this is where it's gonna be graded.
And that's the only retention pond is the gravel wetland?
No, there's a few of them, so this one is on lot 8, this one picks up 6, 7, 8.
Yep.
If you continue. So then when you go down the road, we've split the road into 2 different segments. There's another one kind of in the middle of the screen there. Down below, Emily. There's one there.
Yeah.
And then if you keep going, there's one at the bottom. And then the other 2 lots have small features as well. There's one right up along Caboose Lane on the left, and then there's the one Emily was just circling there. So those 2 are kind of disconnected from the rest of it. But as it's all one project, the state sees that as common development. It's all being done at the same time. So that does count towards a jurisdictional impervious. So.
Thanks. So time check, how close are we to getting to the findings and recommendations? Do we still?
Yeah, we're pretty much right there.
Okay,
So 31.9 is, respect the terrain and then visual impacts. So if you wanna think about any mitigating measures to reduce visual impacts on lots 5 through 8, those are the ones at the top of the hill, such as limits height, vegetation berms, limiting glass area, color, bulk arrangement of the building, stepping buildings into the slope. The Conservation Commission could determine, for that view shed, if you wanted some sort of site visit or, demonstration of compliance, so the bylaw says balloons or poles. And then expecting the view from the surrounding areas, so do you feel that's necessary for those lots? The habitat disturbance assessment, so these are the pre-app recommendations. They either provided the documentation that was required, or there's a recommendation below that helps continue address the comment. The habitat disturbance assessment, had several recommendations. There's some that, are either beyond the scope, or I think are too hard to justify. So eliminating lots 6, 7, and 8, our bylaw talks about, the beneficial use for the property owner, so I think that's probably a non-starter. But talking about the lot size and building envelope of lot 6, 7, and 8. In the recommendation number 2. My recommendation, I guess we'll get down to those in a minute and just go through the HDA. There's a recommendation about the culvert size. This is something that you should discuss, and you may choose to add a recommendation. There's 4 culverts. The recommendation is to go from 8 to 18 inches up to 6 feet, which is significant. Again, this driveway has been designed to the state wetlands and stormwater requirements, so I don't know if a larger culvert would impact those permits, but it's something for the Conservation Commission to discuss. Number 4, maintenance corridor, so the driveway's gotta be the width that it needs to be, with 4 feet clear on either side. We can't really reduce that. This isn't talked in your report, it'll be talked about in the main report, but there do need to be pull-offs every 400 feet, and those aren't shown. So there'll be a couple places where the driveway just gets a little bit wider. So a passenger vehicle could pull over. The wetlands delineation wasn't shown to the HGA consultant, so that recommendation number 5 is not applicable. We got the full delineation. And then some of the recommendation number 6 about conservation and ecological function, that's beyond subdivision review. That would be something considered in the future under an easement or, open space dedication. Reroute the public trail easement. So the location is within the scope of review, but future or restricted uses of the open space land is not something that we're thinking about. So whether you want to allow dogs or mountain bikers or hunting, those aren't things that we talk about in this subdivision review. And lastly, the HGA recommendation about invasive species. I'm recommending carrying that over, that there be an invasive species management plan, both in that erosion control for during construction, and then something within the owners association bylaws or covenants about that continued maintenance of open space to ensure that the control of listed weeds is managed. So jumping down to the recommendations, number 1. This is about the lots being surveyed, and then if it's only conserved by site plan designation or easement, that it be one open space lot. Number 2 is that erosion control plan to include more construction phasing information. Number 3 is what we talked about with that delineation, and that's where you might want to adjust the 15 feet to be the 30 feet to match the state permit, which is why they're shown at 30 feet. Reconfiguring lot 2 to exclude the wetland buffer. That's the one that Brian mentioned was a wetland buffer on the other side of the driveway. Number 5, identify the exact building envelope size for each home, and that's where we're talking about reducing the cleared area, minimizing those homeowner activities, so we're probably tweaking the arrangement of the building envelopes and clearing, both of those in tandem, particularly on lots 1, 2, 4, 6, and 7. Number 6, we're talking about reducing the lots of 6, 7, and 8 to avoid view shed impacts and those steep slopes. And my recommendation here is, rather than expanding lot 10 open space around lot 6, 7, and 8, I'm recommending lot 9, the private HOA open space would wrap around lot 6, 7, and 8, so. It's not your backyard, but it's your HOA's backyard. That I think, if. It makes it, this, I understand that those lots are big because they're high value and lot size leads to property value. So if it's private HOA open space land around those lots, it can meet some of that goal. You can still go tap those maple trees for sugar, and you're only talking with your HOA, you don't have to talk to the town as well, so. Lot 6, 7, and 8 gets smaller, but the HOA open space land around them, is.
Want me to say yes?
Yes. There are a lot of recommendations for us to get through, and I know this is coming up for the DRB, so
Apply for time on 8/20, yeah.
Yeah, if you run out of time today, or the CC feels like it needs more time to debate individual. The
Okay.
DRB review is the 26th of
Oh,
May,
okay.
you have the 20th,
that's
so,
helpful, all right.
you could potentially extend. If you need.
Yeah.
I definitely wanna talk about the culverts, was that a recommendation in the culvert?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I have
culvert
a question
recommendation
about
was
that
from the
too.
habitat assessment.
Okay.
And that's what I was gonna ask, is that for wildlife passage, or is there like concern about,
Wildlife.
no concern about,
I thought it was
flood?
washing out the drive.
Yeah, that's it, yeah,
Well, so those culverts have been there for,
11 or 12 years.
so they've lasted through both of the July events the last few years, so I think hydraulically, they're adequate. I think that's the best test we've had since Irene. So we don't have an issue with the size. I think where the confusion comes from Arrowwood, is they're considering that to be a jurisdictional stream, a perennial stream. So we've stood in that stream bed with no water flowing, last summer, and my understanding that's been the case,
It's
over the years.
pretty typical every summer.
So, and which would classify it as an intermittent stream, and then also the drainage area is only 0.07 square miles. So we reached out to Chris Brunel from the Rivers Program to, we kind of knew that it wasn't jurisdictional, but just to make sure. And I have that email here where Chris Brunel is not determining that stream to be a jurisdictional stream for the agency Natural Resources. So we don't need a stream alteration permit. We're not looking at 1.2. Which it's actually, the rule is actually the width of the stream, 1.2 is usually a request, but. Usually that comes into play with stream alteration permits. So when the Rivers Program doesn't take jurisdiction, then the crossing falls on the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Program. So what we're proposing in the Wetlands Program is to keep the culverts that have lasted in place. Not pull them out and create more disturbance, but just extend them for what we need in order to get our swales and the roadway across. And like I said, that permit's on public notice. So the Wetlands Program has approved the crossings as they've been presented. And it's not a jurisdictional stream. So,
And can I just clarify, and then Laura, so there's 4 culverts, 8, 15, 18, and 18 existing inches, so those are specific diameters of measured culverts, right? And you're proposing, or what you just said is you wanna keep all of those at exactly the same.
we wanna keep the same, we're extending them slightly as our
Understood.
footprint is slightly longer.
Right.
But generally, yes, they would stay the same, but I believe the 6-foot culvert. Request from Arrowwood was only specific to one of those crossings, it was not all 4.
Okay, alright.
And the only reason he mentioned the one is it's mapped as a stream on A&R. Which is an indicator from us that we need to check with the A&R Rivers Program, but by no means does that mean everything that's mapped on A&R is considered a jurisdictional stream.
Okay.
So I think one thing I can clarify, I would have to look back at that comment from Aaron, but when we have, biologists go out and do HDAs, we're not asking them to think about jurisdiction of the, state programs, we're just asking them to just be an ecologist on site, and make the recommendations that would be best for the ecology, and that ideally those recommendations tie back to our bylaw. So I think with this particular one, I recall there being a picture of two culverts side by side.
Yep.
In the report. And I think were they two 15 and 18-inch ones side by side? So I guess that's
two 18s. Yeah.
2 18, so are
Somebody's got
those,
it here.
Yeah.
I think that's why he was saying. It's not 118 going to 6 feet, but it was replacing the two that were serving the double.
Sure, but a 6-foot culvert's still a far cry from 218. And it was
Okay.
also mentioned that it was a perennial stream, cause he's out there in the winter. And like he said, there's, you know, he's looking at the conditions as they are, and he's not out there in the summer where no water's flowing, so. How's he supposed to know it's an intermittent stream? So I get that. But I think he defined the stream incorrectly. Which I think plays into the aquatic organism passage of being 1.2 times the size of the channel of the stream,
Well,
so.
it's more than just an aquatic organism, just to be clear.
Sure, but it still is an intermittent stream.
Yeah, and I'm noticing now in the narrative, he does say 1.2, and then the recommendations that I just copy pasted, it says 1.5, so it should be 1.2 in the staff report. So it's just a typo.
And would, I guess like the clarification would be, would Arrowwood's recommendation change if they had different information from A&R, or would they not, would they be like, this is what I think it is regardless of the.
I appreciate that question, and my reflection is that he never talks about A&R rules in those briefings. He's purely just looking at like.
But I get not A&R rules, but A&R's classification of the stream, like as an ecologist, if he knew that the stream was dry in the summer, would it change his recommendation?
I looked into a little bit of recommendations on culverts, just because I didn't understand them, and I know that most places say 15 or 18 inches for intermittent streams, and that's the recommendation. And I know they follow a lot of what A&R would recommend, so. I feel comfortable with the 15 or 18-inch culverts.
Thank you for looking into it more. Is this a recommendation in the staff report, or is this that's going to the DRB for the culverts? Because I didn't.
No,
No.
it was only in the recommendations at pre-app. Right, is that what or no, recommendations from HDA, sorry.
Yeah, so this table, left-hand columns are copy paste of Arrowwood's recommendation.
Yeah.
And then,
And so your
should
recommendation,
discuss
do
it.
we add a new recommendation?
put out a new recommendation, I didn't draft anything.
I
Okay,
feel like I would, if we were gonna draft a new recommendation, I would wanna know, like, does the fact that the stream classification is incorrect in the report change Arrowwood's recommendation? Like, I would want
To ask
to ask the biologist that.
yeah, and the follow-up question is that like two culverts might work for an intermittent stream. Two culverts right next to each other might work. But was the recommendation more about like wildlife passage underneath it, in which case, you know. It was that consistent with his recommendation, because it could ultimately affect whether or not we wanted to add a recommendation here for that safer passage. Okay, let's talk about other recommendations. Dave, would you be able to follow up with Aaron on that?
I can follow up, I'd say, I mean, I'm happy to get an opinion on it. I don't think it necessarily matters for what the Conservation Commission decides. You receive recommendations from HDA. That are just representing one side of the picture, and your task is really to evaluate those in the balance of the project. So certainly from a purely ecological side, replacing two culverts, with a perched ending with one large culvert that has an open bottom is better for wildlife. Whether that translates to a recommendation from you to recommend replacing those culverts for this project, that's your decision.
But it's gonna, like, what wildlife is present there is gonna be connected to how, like, the quality of the stream, the characterization of the stream, right? Like, I think it matters, like, different, I have someone who's doing a culvert project right now, like, it matters what type of stream it is, and I think that's the thing in question, and I don't feel like I could make a recommendation like, I could make a recommendation that's like, yes, bigger open bottom culvert's always better, but is that necessary for this? Is that a reasonable thing to ask?
It's a cost benefit, is it
Right,
better?
exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
If town won and put 6 foot culverts everywhere, there's an inlet stream on all the town roads. Oh, boy.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, and so like, I would wanna know, like, what actually is this stream?
Well, you
before I-
told us, right? It's an intermittent stream.
Yeah,
That was
with a
classified as-
very small drainage area.
Yeah.
It's only 0.07 square miles, so it only goes up roughly to the top of Beartown. I mean, it's not,
Mhm.
this isn't a huge, and I don't remember seeing Aaron mentioning anything about the size of the drainage area. He was only out there in the winter, so he wasn't out there in the summer, so given his limited scope, I don't. I understand where the definition could come from, but we've been on the property quite a bit longer. So, and I don't remember an instance I've done large, quite a few projects in town where stream alterations doesn't take jurisdiction, wetlands program is okay with the crossing, but then the town's gonna have us put in something bigger. That would be a first for me.
Yeah, go ahead, Reed.
I would suggest, and interested in other commissioners, I would just suggest that we table discussion about this. And ask the biologist whether that
Yeah.
changes their opinion, we can always at the next meeting. Amend the recommendations, but for right now, I would leave it out of the recommendations, allow the culverts to stay as they are unless we hear back from the biologist that they have a.
I think that's a good call, because clearly we're gonna have to table this to the 20th. I will ask, are there any other recommendations that would potentially require some follow-up in the intermittent week here? Because we're clearly not gonna get to everything by 9 o'clock, and this commission had a hard stop on like the DRB because of work schedules and whatnot. Yeah, go ahead.
Recommendation 3, demarcation, because we're not demarcating all the way along and we're only doing it where it's closest to the wetlands. I support the 15-foot spacing. I do think it makes a difference for homeowners being able to visually identify where that clearing needs to end and maintenance needs to end.
And it sounds like they're not going along the whole boundary of the property. It's
Just where it's closest.
It's just where it's closest and most visible. I think that makes sense to me too.
I remember at Glazer, you folks had us do 15 or 10 foot spacing when we were within 10 feet of the buffer. Even though we were only demarcating, again, within 25 feet, which is the state rules. If you can put something in there that if we're within 10 feet of the buffer for impacts that we demarcate at this, double the standard of what the state allows. I think that would be helpful.
Okay, let's see. I don't know how much of it comes that close.
I don't either,
Yeah.
but it's less than
all of it.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like on the recommendation number 6. That reducing the lot size to sort of wrap around the HOA land was agreeable for the current owner. Would that
Well,
be
was it?
workable? Yeah,
Reluctantly.
It's reluctant.
yeah.
If that's the only choice I have, then I might be amenable to it.
Okay, I mean, for whatever it's worth, that is a big piece of property, so I understand more property, more value. How big of a wraparound were you sort of thinking would be included here?
We're also conveying almost 140 acres to the town, which is also a very big piece of property. So it's not like we're being inconsiderate in that direction. And anything that would change, like you're talking, adds complexity, adds cost. Possibly decreasing revenue, everything is a balance. We don't get to build this project for free, so. It's just a consideration on our side also.
The thing that I will say that I was concerned with is the steepness of the slope on
Yeah.
that sort of backside,
Yeah.
and so. Even if on paper it's seen as your 5 acres, like. They're not gonna be able to do anything with it anyways, other than like sort of walk it and sort of like have ownership of it.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
31726, open space should include slopes 15 to 29% to the extent consistent with the landowner's right to beneficial use. This means that the landowner only has slopes or no other lands physically suitable. Conservation and DRB will work with landowner on a TDR. Or create an open space development that minimizes consumptions of lands that should be protected. And then it says slopes 30% or more must be within the open space. When we look at the steep slope plan, it's tricky because all the things that are 30% are within the 15 to 29%. It's primarily some of lot 7 where there's this steeper ridge, so this probably warrants more discussion with the Conservation Commission next week.
Yep.
And there's that should and beneficial use, there's some squish there where overall the subdivision is conserving a lot of those more constrained lands on, 91% open space where 75% is required, so. Could they get these lots deeper in the land where it's not encroaching on the slopes? Yes, but then that would mean a longer road and going farther back rather than keeping everything compact. So there are some things to balance here.
In the homes and the septics, I mean, the impacts are proposed on the flatter areas. So if we just did maybe a 50-foot band going around the southern and eastern sides of those parcels. What we're seeing in the little green strip is 100 feet north of lot 6. So somewhere between, in the 50-foot ballpark, I don't think would minimize the size of the lots significantly. But could be a good middle ground.
So it's 9 o'clock. We'll continue this on the 20th. My availability, I think, is limited, so I'll talk to Kim about subbing in for me on that particular meeting.
I think I'm fine. Hang on, let me just double check. The 20th is fine.
Okay.
Then in June, I have like, field work.
Alright, so thank you for everyone. That was a good discussion. I think we'll.
Can I ask one question before we?
Go ahead.
I have a question for the applicant about recommendation 8 about providing a floating trail easement. What are your thoughts about that?
Pretty negative on using Caboose Lane.
Okay.
We've already had minor incursions, people coming in and parking unofficially. Because they know that we're unofficially at public trails. And it's gonna get encouraged if it becomes common. They will use it as a parking lot because they'll park beside the drive, they'll park off the side of the drive in areas where maybe they shouldn't be parking. It's just very awkward. Especially since at this point, it doesn't go exist. You can go to South Road, that's all you can do. So.
My thought on it were not including Caboose Lane, not including the new shared drive. If we can stay away from the private lots and keep it in the HOA land, as far north as possible. But floating in the sense that you can cross any natural features at 90 degrees, which is what the state's gonna want.
Yeah.
So as we tack it to the northern and eastern property lines, you're not crossing at 90 degrees. So floating in the sense that it gives the town the ability to cross at 90 degrees. But as long as there's something in there that says the trail should be as north as possible and as far away from the private lots and the shared driveway as possible.
The problem with that was that what Aaron told us 2 weeks ago was that with the way that the property lines are drawn to hug every corner of those wetlands, is that there's no way to avoid wetland crossings or property lines. So if you have an alternative view of how that would work, I think bringing that to us would be very helpful.
So we didn't delineate all wetlands because it's a 200 acre piece, right? So the northeast corner, he's saying, there may be wetlands up there. There probably are. Like I said, everything that conveys channelized water is a wetland down here. So you're going to have to make some crossings. So what I'm saying is we would give it, the easement would be floating in the sense that you could cross whatever you need to cross. Whether you're
open space at the north.
whether you're tacked to the, like we're showing there, whether it's tacked to the north and eastern boundaries. Or if you're to cross that wetland finger that we're showing there, the state's not gonna want you to do it at an angle just because that's where your easement's limited to. They're gonna want you to cross it at a 90 degree, and, you know, they're gonna want you to cross at 90 degrees. So I think we'd be agreeable as long as the easement was written in a sense that it should be as far north and as far east of all the private entities as much as we can, but floating in the sense that will allow for the crossing of all these natural features at 90 degrees. But we certainly don't wanna share a shared driveway with the general public. I don't think that's fair, so.
Is there already a connection essentially from your property to property on the north all the way to Sherwood Forest? It appears that way on Strava.
There is an old vast snow machine trail.
Yeah,
It has been used some by mountain bikers, a very limited amount.
yeah,
It's very unofficial. It does enter onto our property eventually, but it goes through a number of other people's property
Yeah.
to get there. There is some severe slopes on some of that trail. So it's a very compromised thing. And I don't know. I have heard through neighborhood scuttlebutt that there's some landowners between us and like Pond, for instance, that absolutely do not want anybody using that former trail. That is only scuttlebutt that I've heard. I
yeah,
don't
so
know
Bass
officially.
maybe had an agreement a long time ago.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
20 or so more years ago.
Okay, I have to call it there, so we'll adjourn and continue
Thank you.
next 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily, for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emily.
Man,
Very
all those
thorough.
little vest
usual.
agreements are like someone should pull them all.
It's a complex one.
We have a
Yes, it is.
Of all the old ones.
Of the old ones from like 20 years ago. I could bring it in.
Yeah,
show everyone. Yeah, I'll
well,
do that.
can did you know that I have a reason
mean,
to throughout winter?
That bill,
Yeah,
if Karen wants to
Pull
give
it
a
out.
comment, you can
I
make a
just-
comment, but I really don't.
I just recruited a new PhD student, we're specifically looking at.
I don't
civil
think that
and
should
short.
matter to the conservation.
Okay.
City.
All right.
They have the information. But I'll see.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't think they should pay for it.
Oh, what
What's that?
Dave would be consulting from the cost more, is that what you're saying?
What's that?
Would consulted him from.
Probably, okay.
We can't just ask him like.
No, we can, and I will, but
It's funny because
Yeah.
that's what the.
consultant time is generally not.
Foresters,
Yeah.
put the culverts in.
Yeah, I'd like a clarification on this thing.
Right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.
So they, you know, they do a set of conversion, but
This was my recommendation.
What's that?
I think a clarifying question on our existing report, they've completed.
Generally how they do it.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's not new work.
Yeah.
That's a justification. Hey, you looked at it, assuming that it was a perennial stream, what if it's an intermittent stream? Does that change your opinion? That's a clarification on the existing report, is how I see it, but.
Anyway, I would take that if you want
Okay.
one that you wanna, I would give
Yeah.
it to the new PhD student, that'd be super.
Oh, I bet they'd love it.
Yeah. She also might just like, I